Hello, guys. The discussion around the peoples of Kenya that we had last time was about the migration and settlement of the peoples of Kenya. Today, we're going to look at the history of Kenya in terms of the political, social, and economic development since independence. We all know that Kenya gained its independence in 1963 when Kenya became when Kenya became uh, when it was given the Madaraka, and then we had the first president who first became the prime minister. In 1963, Kenya uh, gained self-government, internal self-government, with a prime minister, an executive prime minister, and the head of state being the governor general, who was appointed from London by the Queen, or the monarchy in Britain. So in 1963, after the internal government, later on 1964, we have Kenya changing its constitution and becoming a republic on 12th December 1964. And then we had Mzee Jomo Kenyatta becoming the first president of the republic, and of course the late Odinga becoming the vice president. And then in 1964, Kenya became de facto a one-party state. It is important for us to understand that at independence, Kenya was a multi-party state. We had KANU, we had KADU, and the African People's Party headed by Paul Ngei, and KADU headed by Ronald Ngala and Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. The history of Kenya is really a complex story of a people in Africa that struggled to gain their independence, with the Mau Mau fighting for their land. As we progress, you are going to find a lot of issues that had been articulated during the struggle for independence, still lingering on many years later. In 1966, just a few years after independence, exactly to be 3 years, there was a fallout between Oginga Odinga and Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. And in 1966, we had this fallout, and Oginga Odinga went ahead to form his own political party, KPU. Then there was the small general election, which actually comes to kind of have a deep imprint on the politics of Kenya. In 1966, the fallout, painted the one-party state in bad faith, and that had repercussions. And we see following on, we have a lot of assassinations, political assassinations, with the likes of Pio Gamapinto, with the likes of the likes of the likes of J.M. Kariuki, the likes of the likes of Tom Mboya. I'm sorry, someone is trying to interrupt, but I'll continue. Apart from those assassinations, we had other developments, political developments, really that painted the 1960s and 1970s also badly, and that was the issues that were enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya. Like, for example, we had the tenure of office of several state officers, like the magistrates, like people that were in charge of parastatals and statutory bodies. their tenure of office being put in question and the government actually withdrawing the tenure of office. Um, it is important to understand that the Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's government from 1969 was a government that was that was really in kind of anticipation, because the Mzee's health was not, according to sources, his health was in question, and therefore we see Parliament passing an archaic law which stated that no one was supposed to question the health of the president or even doubt, and that that today has become one of the laws that many people wonder. And in 1978, of course, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta passed on, and then Mzee Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi took over office. Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, when he took over office, there was a lot of you know, tribal you know tribal divisions in the country, and there were a lot of formation of tribal or ethnic based organizations that were trying to identify the communities of Kenya in terms of their tribes. And so later on, we see Mzee Moi trying to resolve the issue by banning all political or ethnic based, tribal based organization. That a little bit helped, but I remember when Moi was being sworn in as the president, the Kikuyu, a group of the Kikuyu was really against it, and of course not all groups of the Kenyan communities were very happy with it, and therefore there was a change. There was change in the political arena. So finally, we see Moi again having to face the coup. Of course, according to a book written by David Musila, the former senator of Kitui, is that the president, the former president, at least had an idea of the attempted coup. Later on, in 1982, the coup really changes the image of Moi and his approach on government. In the beginning of his office, he was a liberal kind of president who is then pushed to the wall and he has to fight on for survival. And so Moi clings on power and he decides that he is going to use dictatorial means. Later on in 1988, we have the issues around the Mlolongo election, the infamous Mlolongo election that was very infamous, and of course the Mlolongo election and 1990 we are surrounded by the imminent collapse of the Soviet Union and communism as a political ideology, an alternative political ideology. And so the politics of Kenya really changed in 1992 with the repeal of Section 2A that stated that now multi-party was enshrined again in the constitution. We have people that fought for this, the likes of Mwai Kibaki, the likes of Raila Odinga, the likes of Toby Manyara, the likes of the current Meru governor Kiriko Murungi, Wangari Maathai, Martha Karua, among other nationalists that fought for what they call the second liberation. So that can form the political the political side of Kenya since 1963. But on social and economically, we know that if we have to argue anything under economic terms, we have to be based on the factors of production, that is land, that is entrepreneurship capital, and of course We have capital, entrepreneurship, we have land as some of the factors of production in Kenya. And it's sad to note that land as a factor of production was not equitably distributed, and it has led to the issues of squatter, squatters and other things of that nature. So generally, the economic part of Kenya has stalled. We have had arguments on how Kenya gained its independence together with Seychelles and other countries that are currently industrializing, while Kenya remains in the third world. And so we really have to look at the issues of bad politics, poor political planning, challenges such as corruption and embezzlement of funds, electing poor leaders, uneducated leaders, our education system being one of the education system that encourage rote learning, that is cramming, while unemployment rates are very high. In fact, we have graduates who don't have jobs even 20 years down the line. So really it's a challenge, and we also have to be proud again on the side of social, where we see the Kenyan people being very resilient. We have seen the rise of the ridiculous, that is a group of actors who had come up in the early 2000, and they were portraying the politics of the country and acting. So on one side we can see Kenya trying to survive, but again you look at the acting sector, while Kenya emerged as one of the leading and economic superhouses, we are still looking at acting, while Tanzania and Nigeria are dominant in the markets, while the Kenyan industry still remains strong. So generally that is the overview. If you have any comment, if you have a question, you can still ask. The general, it's just a general outlook of the Kenyan history since 1963, but I've just handled up to 1990. We'll continue from 1990 to today. Thank you very much.